You're watching the Sports Central Podcast.
Kelly, can't thank you enough for doing this, man. It almost feels like full circle. We were just talking about 1990 winning here in Trestles. Could you have even envisioned doing this 35 years later in the water?
I couldn't have then, but as the years wore on, I think so. I love surfing, and that keeps me motivated to keep my levels up and keep my body in shape and work on everything that goes into it. But it's definitely daunting to think back at 18, go 35 more years from now in my 50s I'll be surfing this. So yeah.
What are some of the memories of surfing here? Because you've won here countless times. Is there a specific memory that sticks out?
Winning the first time in 1990, I was starting my senior year of high school, first week of school, and I won this event. And I had just signed with Quicksilver, which was really exciting. They were the company I wanted to be with. And they gave me a nice contract at the time. So still being in high school, signing that contract, winning this contest, and I was filming a movie called Black and White, Kelly Slater in Black and White, which a lot of people still quote lines from the movie back to me in the surf world. But yeah, all that was happening right then.
Dude, I have in prepping for this podcast, I found this. I'm sure you've seen it countless times.
Yeah.
Let's put this in the mic.
Wow, look at that, Slater's first big win. Oh boy, is he happy about it? I would be too, $30,000. Oh, he's a happy young man. He's gonna walk away with that big check.
Well, you get the feeling this is the first of many checks to come for this young man out of Florida.
That's my favorite line. You get the feeling there's more checks to come.
Yeah, that was a great memory for me. It was myself and Chris Brown, first and second, and Charlie Kuhn and Bud Lamas were the kind of generation before us, and they got third and fourth. Yeah. And Charlie, it's funny because Charlie's from my hometown. And he was like the generation before me, and then Bud's from Huntington and Chris from California. So it was like sort of an East Coast West, young versus old. There was a lot of different storylines in that final. And, being the best waves, one of the best sort of swells, best set of waves we've ever had for any contest at Trestles. Somebody's asking me yesterday, he said, is that the best you've ever had waves for lowers? And I'm thinking 35 years later, it's right up there as it was like the second one I surfed here. And probably the best waves I ever got out here for an event.
It's incredible. And what I love about that is, we have no idea what's going to come with your career. And the announcer saying, this may be the first of many checks to come. What do you think that 18-year-old would say about what's happening in 2025 right now?
I don't know. I mean, if I was 18, I'd be pissed at some guy that was my age who was surfing these contests.
Would you?
Yeah.
Competition too. It's fascinating you say that because I wonder, how do you approach competition in your 50s versus the prime of your career? Does your mind shift to a different place? Is competition the same always, no matter how old you are?
It just depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, for most of those years, I was trying to win world titles, and I was right in the mix, and so I was very hyper-focused and obsessed about the competition and not making mistakes, knowing everything I had to do and take chances where I can, also be safe where I can. You kind of like find this threshold that's really comfortable for you, and it helps build your confidence. At this point, it'd be fun to win a contest, but it's not make or break for my life. When I first started out, every heat was like more money than I'd ever had. What I mean?
Yeah.
So I was trying to make a living and put money in the bank and maybe buy a house and that kind of thing. And so your goals change. And I have an 11-month-old son. I also have a daughter who just turned 29 this week. I always said I'll surf contests till the batteries just burn out, and so I'm getting to that place. I could surf or not surf this event. So I'll go out there and I'll put in a nice effort when I'm in the water and see what I can do. But I'm not surfing for points and money. I'm surfing for the enjoyment of it. And so it's a little different place. But I do have a little bit of a personal challenge in the back of my head, not for this event, but for the next couple of years, if I could actually be competitive in not just in barrel waves. In barrel waves, it's a lot easier for me because it's just you're kind of just picking a line and pulling in, charging a big wave. But high performance surfing, I've been dealing with a hip injury for about 2 or 3 years. It's made it really hard for me to kind of keep my level where I need to be to compete with the top 10 guys. So if I can get the hip right, I'll see if there's any more competing I want to do or not. But now I just want to be in the mindset of having more fun and focusing on my son. And yeah.
I always feel like the older you get, like I think you said in 2022 that was one of the best wins of your life with the Billabong. Was it the pipeline? Yeah. Was it because of everything that you've been through, and it almost like you're kind of proving to yourself that you can still do it?
Well, it's because turning 50 that week that I won that event. I don't think anyone ever thought that a 50-year-old could win pipeline or win a contest on the World Tour. And also I hadn't won a contest in a couple of years, and I came into it in a really good frame of mind. I felt really just very calm, and but I was, because I hadn't won in a while, I was having a little bit of trouble with the confidence and just trusting the process. And I had this one really close heat with Baron Mamiya, who has since won the contest twice, I think. But he and I had a really close heat, and he was beating me the whole time, and I beat him with like 3 seconds to go. I caught the wave to beat him, and once I won that heat, I thought, okay, I'm gonna win this contest. I just had this feeling, because I have a lot of events like that throughout my career where I had to fight back somewhere in a heat to win, and then when I did, it was like the rest of it was easy, because then it's almost like, I don't know if you play golf, but a sort of, to draw an analogy or metaphor, might be, you make a double bogey on your first hole and you get that out of your way. Yeah. Then you can relax and play. Now you have to just trust it and play well.
Longevity in the sport. I think of LeBron is in our city, and he's now playing against players who he played against their dads, right? Yeah. The fact that
I did that a lot.
You're surfing against different generations. What is that like to kind of span so many different generations where you're surfing against maybe the sons of some of your former competitors?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's like you beat those guys, and so they had a kid trying to send their offspring after you.
You beat them too.
No, it's kind of fun. I mean, look, if you last 20 years, you're probably going to come across that. But I've been doing it professionally for 35 years, so there's been a number of those people. At Pipeline this year, I lost to Ian Govea. I surfed against his dad Fabio for years on tour. Felipe Toledo, I surfed against. Surfed in. I don't remember if I surfed against him, but I surfed in a number of contests with his dad when he was on tour, before Felipe was ever born. So there's been a bunch of those over the years, and it's kind of fun to think back about, and for me it almost makes me more relaxed, because I'm like, yeah, you're the young guy, you should beat me, and if I beat you, then you got to step it up.
Saw you won the Laureus Lifetime Achievement. Congratulations. Yeah. I mean, that's the top of the top, and it kind of leads into that. Everyone talks about the GOAT conversation, right? Whether it's Tiger or Jordan, Ali. You can never kind of compare sports.
Well, you can't even compare generations.
And you can't compare generations.
And like in boxing, you can't compare lightweight to heavyweight. It's just, they're different things. They're different components. They're different approaches and styles. I mean, you can't compare. You can kind of compare Ali and Foreman because they fought each other, but you can't compare Ali to Tyson, to Vladimir Klitschko, or to whoever's the next guy. Those are generations. Awesome. Well, and the style of fight, the style that people grow up with, it moves the sports in different ways. When I was a little kid, tennis wasn't just a power game. It was a place and a spin game, and they have much. They played a much different racket, and the strings weren't as tight, all that kind of stuff. So the game's changed a lot.
You mentioned like the NBA is completely different now than it was even 10, 15 years ago. How different is surfing from when you first started?
It's very different. I mean, the boards the equipment's much better. The techniques and the coaching and all that stuff is so different now. Whereas I feel like I was mostly doing that all myself. I mean, I had a shaper, obviously Al Merrick was making my boards, but as far as coaching and preparation, all that stuff. I just did all that stuff myself. So I was really my own coach. And I feel like in some ways that's a huge advantage. If you can decipher all those messages yourself and all the things you need to know, you don't have to go to someone else to tell you. You can just go out in the water and if you're your own encyclopedia and you can draw on all that, if you have enough experience and enough knowledge and enough passion for what you're doing, you can watch and learn all that stuff if you don't do it yourself.
Kelly, are you a fan of other sports or other athletes? Do you draw motivation or just competitiveness from other athletic counterparts, I should say?
I do, yeah. I'm a big MMA, UFC fan. I love jiu-jitsu. When I was a kid, I played a lot of baseball, a lot of football, a little bit of basketball. I was a really huge football fan as a kid.
Who's your team?
The Bucks.
Yeah.
Which failed us many years. But then
the creamsicles.
But then I've known Brady for a while, and when the rumor started going around he's going to the Bucks, I messaged him and I said, "Hey, is it true? Can I jump back on the bandwagon here, be a fan again?" And he just sent me a smiley face emoji back, and about 2 weeks later they announced it.
Oh my God, it's incredible.
And then we got a Super Bowl. So
yeah, you did.
Anyways, it was a lot of tough losses there for the Bucks over the years. But when you're a fan of a team, it's just like you got to be a hardcore, die-hard fan for your life. And I like their helmets. That was the thing when I was a kid. I liked the helmets.
I love the old helmet.
Yeah, the old helmet.
And I love the
awesome.
creamsicles. I think they should go back to that fit. I know that there was some tough seasons those years, but
yeah, I was just telling somebody the other day. My older brother went to spring training. Went to the training camps for the Bucks a couple times, and he has pictures with like Leroy Selman and Doug Williams and Ricky Bell and all these guys that were like 70s teams.
Oh, I love it.
And then Doug Williams left and won a Super Bowl with Washington the first year he was there.
Yeah, I'm a diehard Washington fan.
Right. Well, my mom is from D.C. Well,
okay.
She's from Bethesda, Maryland.
Yeah.
So she's like she was always a Redskins fan.
Yeah, I grew up a Redskins fan. I went to every game as a kid, and I remember I was 7, 8 years old when Doug Williams won that Super Bowl.
Was it Theismann?
It was Theismann.
Yeah,
so Gibbs won with 3 different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Theismann, Williams, and Rippon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I mean, there's so many parallels between you and Brady because of his longevity in the NFL.
I mean, I drew a lot of inspiration from him. That's sort of later years of my career, obviously. But I forgot to kind of answer your question. But like Tiger was a big influence. Obviously, Lance Armstrong was a big influence. Say what you will, but what Lance went through. But he was the best of all the guys doing that stuff.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that is that's one of the most grueling sports in the world to endure over a month. But all those years he was winning, I was winning world titles too. And I was watching his Tour de France events and getting huge inspiration. Tiger, I felt like, I've been playing golf for 35 years, so I really love golf. I'm still a huge fan of that. I mean, what Scheffler's doing right now is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. He's the closest thing to Tiger in terms of like
statistically.
Yeah, well, he's every Sunday
dominance.
he's in it. He's at the top of the leaderboard.
Well, Tiger says if he's putting bad, he's in the mix. If he's putting good, he's winning. It's pretty much that simple for Scheffler. And he's channeling something that he just has this confidence that he knows he could do it. Each hole is just 2, 3, 4 shots he needs to make. It doesn't matter where in the world it is, what kind of course. Yeah, he's just on something special right now.
The fact that, we're sitting here today in 2025, Kelly, and people are here. I saw a Slater jersey down there. People are here to see you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're 18 or in your 50s.
Yeah.
How does that hit you when you see it?
Yeah, it's cool. I was surprised how many young kids, still got my jersey on and they're coming up for autographs and all. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Because it feels like it's just sort of eternal in a way, and it's just spanning through the generations, and it's good to see all the young surf fans here.
When we talk about all the accolades and stuff, we tend to skip over the hard stuff, right? The self-doubt, the doubt from others, overcoming injury, overcoming adversity, and that's so much of sport.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to people, whether you're a lawyer or you're working a desk job to an up-and-coming athlete?
I don't know, what are you going to do? Just live in the past, Whether you did good or bad, it's a new day, and you have to if you did really good before, it doesn't mean that same process is going to work. And if you did bad, it means you can overcome the problems you had. When I won my first world title, the following year, with 4 events to go on tour, I was in 28th place or 27th place. I almost wasn't making the cut after being reigning world champ. And I had a whole bunch of stuff personally going on in my life that was really distracting and difficult for me. But I was able to come back after that and win 5 in a row, and then retired for a little bit and came back and won 5 more. So it's, you have to put if you're really strong-willed and you have a strong mind, you can make these things happen. There was a kid who fell off tour the other year, and he was distraught about it, and I had to talk to him. I was sharing that story with him. He came back and made top 5 the next year after falling off tour the year before. So it's, sometimes the best driver and motivator is loss. And I've always said you don't learn a whole lot when you win. You learn a whole lot when you lose, though.
This is going to be the site of the Olympics in 2028. Have you thought about any involvement potentially in the Olympics, and what do you think of this as the site?
Well, if you're coming to California, this is the way to be at in the summertime for sure. Felipe. Oh, yeah. This is the place to be in the summer. The most consistent, high performance wave. I haven't really put much thought into my involvement, and I don't know if I throw my hat in the ring and put my hand up, or if they contact me to help with the coaching or something like that. But yeah, it'd be a really special honor to be involved in the opening ceremonies and stuff like that. See the whole thing and interact with it all. We'll see when that time comes over the next couple of years if I'm involved.
What advice would you give to, your younger self?
Yeah, maybe something the last thing my dad told me before he passed away was, actually after he passed away, a friend of mine had filmed him and did an interview and asked him questions about his family and everything, and his advice to me was to not take it so seriously, because I took a lot of things really seriously as a kid. I think it was tough when my parents split up, and I was like, kids struggle with that stuff, and then I saw surfing as my outlet, my way to kind of fix everything in some way, and also a way to create a career for myself and make money and all that. So I was very serious about my career and what I was doing, and I think at times my dad wanted me to lighten up, and so I think that advice is pretty good. And also, just don't be judged by your last wave, your last heat, or your last contest. It's a long haul, for these guys, for all of us on this. Careers are lasting a lot longer. Biohacking's a real thing now for people. Taking care of your body, living longer, longevity is a huge thing. So you don't have to live and die by one season or one event or anything like that. But learn from it and build on what you got.
Your innovation and everything that you mean to the sport current day is just as valuable as the beginning. Are we going to see you on the waves? Are we going to continue to see you on the waves? What's the...
Oh yeah, I'm going to surf. I hope I die in the ocean one day. That'll be peaceful for me. Maybe at 100 years old or something. But maybe I'll just send it on like a 60-footer when I'm 100 years old. 100-footer when I'm 100.
Exactly.
That'd be the ultimate send-off, But no, I'll surf my whole life. I hope my son likes to surf too, because it'd be great to surf with him. But maybe he'll end up playing computer games or something. I don't know. But I think he'll like to surf. I have an inkling.
He'll probably be the best at whatever he does.
I have an inkling. He climbs on my surfboard up and down, back and forth. So he's already wondering what that thing is, and
so cool.
I'll get him on a wave soon here.
Are you happy with where the sport is right now?
I am. I'm as far as the skills that all the surfers possess, absolutely. I would say when I got on tour, when I turned pro, I felt like the level was too low. I thought, and I went out and proved that, because I won a world title my first full year. And I remember telling one of the guys about, it worked for Quicksilver, and he was a couple generations before me, and he goes, "What do you think? The surfing's been great, right?" And I go, "I don't think so. I think it needs to be way better." And he's like, "Wow, really?" And I go, "Yeah, absolutely. I just think there's only a few guys that are really good, and there should be a lot of guys who are great." And there's not a surfer on tour right now who's not going to take every other surfer on tour seriously. back then, top 5 guys, you go, it's shoo-in. If they get the waves, they're going to win. And it's just not that way anymore. The level has gotten a lot deeper, and you see how many good guys there are, and different people are better in certain conditions, but no one's going to take anyone easy in almost any condition at all. So yeah, I really like where the level of surfing's at, and the women have progressed unbelievably quickly. I think probably a lot more quickly than the men have, and they've kind of gained ground.
The sport's in good shape, and it's a privilege for all of us to watch you in the water, man.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks for being down here.